Good morning. Um, so I have been reading in Exodus lately. All this going on in our world right now about slavery and all that stuff has got me here because the Israelites were slaves in Egypt for like 400 years. So I'm reading Moses' story again, and I know that probably almost everybody, a lot of people have heard or know the story about Moses and how he you know, led the children of Israel out of Egypt, and God parted the Red Sea, and they went across and wandered in the wilderness for 40 years and all that. But a lot of people, or I haven't anyway, I haven't paid attention to Moses' backstory. And that is, it's just crazy because I look at it, I was reading it today, and I was like, oh my gosh, he had to have had like an identity crisis because he started out, his people were slaves because they hadn't always started out in Egypt. Like they had started out in their own land, and then the children of Israel, which Jacob was his name first, and then his name got changed to Israel, and his children, he had 12 children, and one of those were Joseph, and his brothers hated Joseph, or Joseph's brothers hated him and sold him into slavery. And he was in Egypt, and there was a lot of bad stuff at the beginning, but then he ended up like being like highly favored in Egypt, and Pharaoh put him as like second in command. And anyway, there was a famine that came, and because God had given Joseph so much wisdom, and like he had interpreted these dreams and stuff, and he had wisdom in the famine, and so Egypt had all this food stored up, and they had water, and anyway, they had all this stuff. So everyone who the famine hit, they all came to Egypt because Egypt had the food, Egypt had the water. Okay, so his brothers ended up coming from their land to Egypt to get food and take it back to them, and then Joseph knew who they were, and so he ended up bringing them there, and they lived there. And so that is how the children of Israel, the 12, and their families like came there and started living there, and they started like multiplying and just living life there. And so Joseph dies, and a new Pharaoh comes who does not know Joseph, and he sees all these Hebrew people who are like, he's like, these aren't our people, like there's a lot of them, they're mightier than us, they could turn on us and defeat us. And he was like, so let's be smart about this. And then he started making them slaves and just keeping them in control, I guess. Well, it says even through him afflicting them, they grew even more. Like they just kept multiplying, kept getting bigger and bigger. So then he was like, well, let's do something about this. And so he started ordering all of the baby boys to be killed so that the name wouldn't go on anymore. And so that's where Moses comes in. Okay, so Moses was like destined to die from the time that he was conceived. So like when he was born, if he was a boy, he was supposed to be killed. Well, his mom had him, and she ended up hiding him for 3 months, and then she couldn't hide him anymore. So, she put him in the basket that she made and sent him down the river. Well, then Pharaoh's daughter finds him, and she has compassion on him, and she knows that he's a Hebrew baby, but she keeps him anyway and raises him up as her own. So here he is, he's going from something crazy is going on in Egypt and with his people, so his mom can't keep him, and so he's away from his Hebrew family. So then now Pharaoh's daughter has taken him as her own, so now he's like an Egyptian, but he's really Hebrew, but he can't be one of them because now he's Pharaoh's daughter, or he's Pharaoh's daughter's son. So anyway, so from then he grows up and he knows he's Hebrew. So he sees all these Egyptians, and they have their Hebrew slaves, and he knows that's really his people. And one day he sees an Egyptian, like I guess beating a Hebrew, and so he goes and he kills that Egyptian, like out of loyalty to his people. And anyway, it says like the next day he saw two Hebrews like fighting with each other, and so he asked them. He was like, what are y'all doing? Why are y'all fighting? And the one had seen him kill the Egyptian before, and he was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to kill me too? So he's not even though he did that out of loyalty to his own people don't accept him, because he is accepted of the Egyptians that are afflicting them. So he's like, he's probably like, where do I belong? Like, I don't know what to do. And so then Pharaoh finds out that he killed one of the Egyptians. So Pharaoh wants to kill Moses. Sorry, y'all. And so now Moses is running away from Egypt, the only place that he's ever been accepted, and he don't know where he's going, but he's just going. So then he comes to a well in Midian, and he helps these girls water their father's flock. Well, then the girls tell their father, which is Jethro, that an Egyptian helped them water the flock. So he was like, well, why'd you leave him? He was like, bring him in, we'll feed him, he can stay here. And so now, and then Jethro gives his daughter Zipporah to Moses to be his wife. Okay, so now he's gone from Hebrew, the Israelites, to the Egyptians, to run into Midian, to where now they're letting him come in with them, and he's dwelling with them, and he marries one of them, so he marries into that family now. And it says he had a son, I think you say it, Gershom. And what Gershom means is like, I wrote it down. Oh, where is it? I don't know where it is. Oh, it means sojourner there, stranger, alien. And he said he named him that. He's like, because I have been a stranger in a strange land. And we read that and it's just like, oh, I've been a stranger in a strange land. But he was probably saying it like, I have just been a stranger. I'm in a strange land. I don't know where I am. These are not my people. I really don't know who my people are. I don't belong anywhere. So I just see it as, there's so many people today, which I've never been through anything like that. There's a lot of stuff, and I grew up pretty good. Like, I didn't have it hard at all. I thought I did, but I did not. But there's so many people that grow up and just horrible stuff happens. Maybe they don't have parents, or the parents that they do have, it's not a good home life, or it could be anything. Like, just bad stuff happens in your life, and you're just like, why am I even here? I do not belong here. Like, I've even felt like that. Like, I just don't belong. And so anyway, what I'm saying is that I'm just sure that Moses felt like that. And he grew up this whole time. It doesn't really say anything about Moses knowing God or anything. So he's probably just going through life, like probably just wishing that the Egyptians had killed him when he was a baby. He's probably just like, why am I still here? And so, we know the rest of the story of Moses, though, that he led the children out of Egypt, and he led them in the wilderness, and he even went up on the mountain and like saw God. Like, he saw God, like he spent so much time with him that his face physically shined. So I guess what I'm trying to say today is that even if you feel like you do not belong and bad stuff has happened, God has a plan in all of it. He knows what's going on with you. He knows, he might have even set in place those things to draw you away from the people that you would feel like you belong to. Because if Moses would have felt like he could have stayed with the Egyptians and he belonged there, he would have stayed there forever, and he never would have met God. He never would have like gotten saved. He never would have done all the huge stuff that he did. We wouldn't be talking about him today. So, God set all that in place to bring him to Midian, to where he was watching Jethro's flock, and then he came to the burning bush, and God talked to him and told him to go because he heard his children's cries, and they were afflicted, and he wanted to bring them out of Egypt. So just know that through all of the stuff that you may be going through, like, God sees you, and he has such a big plan, and he only brings you low to bring you to him. So he's only got you feeling like this. Like, I'm sure Moses was depressed, he was stressed, he was running, like he didn't know what to do, but God had a plan in all of it. And Moses was like a huge person in biblical history. Like, he was one of the few that he didn't see God's face, but he saw God. Like, he parted the Red Sea, or God used him to part the Red Sea. That is huge. Okay, this happened however many years ago, and we're still talking about it today. A lot of people know about Moses, whether they're like Christians or not. Like, people just know about Moses. So I guess I'm just trying to encourage y'all today that God has a plan in all of this. Stop trying to belong. Like, just stop and look to God. Like, seek after him, and he can do something so big with your life. And all those things that you went through, he can turn around and make it just all fit into this beautiful plan that he has for your life. So I know I rambled a lot in that. I hope it made sense. But just know that even whenever you feel like you don't belong, God has a place for you, and you belong with him. So I hope y'all have a good day. Bye.